Ladies and gentlemen, the deep state's in absolute panic mode tonight following President Trump's appointment of Dan Bongino as the deputy director of the FBI. This could be the most consequential personnel decision of Trump's presidency, and the establishment knows it. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt didn't mince words about the historic appointment. She said, "This man who loves his country and who has honorably served our country." We often see that when outsiders are appointed to such coveted positions, a lot of people in the city get very, very nervous, and they should be. And those nervous people include Senator Richard Blumenthal, who's not a fan of the appointment, and Representative Eric Swalwell, who's been caught in a bombshell expose by Nick Sortor. So wait until you hear what this congressman allegedly said by using his Intel Committee position to subpoena Ivanka Trump because she's hot, and his drunken admissions about the Chinese spy Fang Fang. And according to credible sources, FBI personnel have been caught destroying server evidence ahead of the transition, a desperate attempt to cover their tracks before patriots like Bongino and Kash Patel take control. As Dan Bongino prepares to clean house at the FBI, there's another powerful institution exploiting Americans daily: the energy companies. Just as corrupt FBI officials have operated in shadows for decades, power companies silently drain your bank account with skyrocketing rates. While Bongino hunts for deep state operatives destroying evidence, this revolutionary device hunts down waste electricity in your home. FBI insiders are reportedly planning to defy the new leadership. Similarly, power companies defy consumers by raising rates up to 60% in just 2 years. So this sophisticated gadget works like Bongino will at the FBI, stabilizing electrical currents, reducing waste, and protecting what matters. Visit don'twastepower.com for an incredible 65% discount with fast shipping. It's linked down below. Okay, this is huge bombshell news. Nick Sortor, who I met at CPAC, great guy, been following him for a long time on X, always breaking news, confronting the powerful in Washington, D.C. He had this exclusive. Eric Swalwell panics when I ask about his Chinese spy girlfriend, Fang Fang, and whether that's a bigger national security threat than Elon Musk. Now, check this out. He says, "I sat next to a drunk Swalwell at dinner for 90 minutes. He was immediately compromised by a group of lobbyists he had just met, spilling intimate details about his job and asking for help cheating on his wife. Massive national security threat. This guy should have his clearances revoked," he says. Swalwell spent his dinner bragging about orgies on Capitol Hill, telling him he's bored of his wife and only wants to F10s. Worse, he spoke about abusing his power on the House Intel Committee, which he's since been booted off, saying he pushed to subpoena Ivanka Trump because she's hot as F. This guy must be removed from Homeland Security Committee. He cannot keep his freaking mouth shut. After I began questioning him, Swalwell jumped back into the group of lobbyists to hide from me, but I pressed on. Dude looked absolutely terrified and 100% guilty. He knows he's been caught. More to come later. He says, "I have an hour and a half of audio to go through. Big shout out to Laura Loomer for assisting me with digging into this clown while I was focusing on listening in." Now, here's some of the footage that he caught. At the 29-second mark, Swalwell looks absolutely terrified. Right there. Watch. Okay, right there. That's the moment. That's the moment that Nick says the word lobbyists. Watch this moment.
People that are 10. So, Congressman, you referred to Elon Musk as a fascist at some point and alluded to him being a national security threat. Do you see that more of a national security threat, you sleeping with a Chinese spy, than transparency in the federal government? What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on that? What's Fang Fang think of that?
What are you doing? This is ridiculous. This is the Golden State Warriors, though.
Go down. I mean, what's fascistic about exposing government corruption? I mean, I know you just had dinner now with a bunch of lobbyists. You know, they're buying you a bunch of booze, and you know that's awfully nice. I know you were talking about, maybe finding somebody else because you only like to fuck people that are 10s. I just heard that one too. So, what do you think about that? Do you want to comment on any of it? Elon Musk is a national security threat, but you sleeping with a Chinese spy is not. Is that correct? You don't want to comment on that at all? Looks like guilty as charged.
Guilty as charged. You know what? My hat's off to Nick for getting this footage. And Swalwell looks absolutely inebriated in this video. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. In fact, I contacted Nick as soon as this dropped, and I said, Nick, you got to come on the show, break it down, talk to us about what you're about to drop. He's like, I can't. I'm going on Tim Pool's show tonight. I'm like, damn it. Oh, man. He said it was planned in advance. He couldn't get on my show. So I'm sure he was on Tim's show talking about it tonight. So go check out Tim's show and check out Nick talking about this. Absolute bombshell, but we're going to keep tracking this and bring you more. But my hat's off. I can't wait to see what else comes out of this. But this is only the beginning. This also it's happening. Leakers are being found out and fired. Kash Patel and Dan Bongino at the FBI are now going after James Comey's effort in 2016 to secretly investigate the Trump campaign. Tulsi Gabbard is rooting out the deep state leftists from the National Security Agency. The purge is here. And here we have the beloved press secretary talking about Dan Bongino's appointment.
At the FBI. I'm not sure if anybody in this room has listened to Mr. Bongino when he talks about the past corruption at the FBI, when he talks about his experience serving for the United States Secret Service. This is a man who loves his country and who has honorably served our country in ways that many people have not. He understands the depth of the corruption at these institutions, which the American people reelected President Trump to shake up. And I think it's quite despicable to see many networks in this room who have had chyrons on their television screens labeling Mr. Bongino as a far-right podcaster. He is not. He is a former law enforcement agent. He is a former Secret Service agent who put his life on the line to protect this country, and that is why the President of the United States has entrusted him for this important role. He's also an outsider to this Washington swamp, and we often see that when outsiders are appointed to such coveted positions, a lot of people in this city get very, very nervous, and they should be, because Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and Attorney General Bondi are focused on rooting out the corruption at these agencies and ending the weaponization of government. I'm not sure
if it's happening right now. We have more to get to. Here is Marjorie Taylor Greene on releasing the files of that guy that didn't do something to himself and had that island somewhere, and also the Congressional Slush Fund. Let's listen into what Marjorie Taylor Greene had to say.
See all the lists. I support all the lists being released. I want to see Epstein's list. I want to see the list of the sexual misconduct slush fund. You know, members of Congress and senators that taxpayer money was used to pay out their victims. I want to see all the list.
Including the Gates report.
If they're going to release one, release them all.
Okay, thank you.
Release them all. Release the Kraken. Here is Dustin Mills posting that Senator Blumenthal is not a fan of Bongino.
It would have been
And Senator, what do you make of Dan Bongino potentially to be the deputy FBI director?
It would have been inconceivable that a person with his background would be head of the premier law enforcement investigative agency in the world. He's a podcast ideologue without any qualification to head this investigative agency with profound and far-reaching power over people's lives to enforce the law and also to potentially misuse the law.
And Senator, what do you make
Misuse
of
the law.
Dan
Sure,
Bongino?
okay. We've got more. Let's keep going. Senator Chuck Schumer, 7 hours ago. Remember when he said this? Yeah, and Wokeness reposting this classic moment from Chuck Schumer.
Intelligence community would
take on the intelligence community. They have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you. So even for a practical, supposedly hard-nosed businessman, he's being really dumb to do this.
What do you think the intelligence community would do if they were motivated?
I don't know, but from what I am told, they are very upset with how he has treated them and talked about them. And we need the intelligence community. We don't know what's going on. Look at the Russian hacking. Without the intelligence community, we wouldn't have discovered it.
Do you think he has an agenda to try to dismantle parts of the intelligence community? I mean, this form of taunting hostility.
Whether you're a super liberal Democrat or a very conservative Republican, you should be against dismantling the intelligence community.
And that's exactly what is about to happen with Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, Dan Bongino. Like, this is how it's all going to go down. See, Schumer realized that, the power of the intelligence community. And he was reflecting on how Donald Trump was attacking them because they were leaking information and they were attacking Donald Trump. Well, now Donald Trump has the upper hand. He's put his people in place, and it's game over. Green Lives Matter. As Deputy Director of the FBI, Dan Bongino is now in a position to answer his own crucial questions. Was Thomas Crooks working with any FBI agents? Were the encrypted communications the FBI cannot get into, where are they, and who was he speaking to? Was Thomas Crooks working with an FBI asset or informant? What if we find out members of our own FBI were attempting to assassinate Trump? Is it really far-fetched considering the heads of the FBI spent years framing Trump for treason? We the people need the truth.
Congress people, you need to... Folks, this Crooks thing stinks to the heavens, man. This has the stench of sulfur all over it. You can't find this guy's communications anywhere. He's managed to find the Catwoman freaking program to wipe himself off the internet. Bullshit. The question you should ask, and Congress people, you need to ask under oath, was Matthew Crooks working with any FBI agent, off duty, on duty, between duty, near duty, retired, not born yet? You get the point? Also, was Thomas Crooks working with FBI asset, confidential informant, a non-confidential informant, an informant who's confidential now but wasn't before, an informant who wants to be an informant but hasn't been approved yet? Do you see the games they play?
Yeah, whatever happened to Thomas Crooks? Maybe we'll finally get some answers on that front. Dan Bongino certainly wants answers. Here is Tim Cass News. Speaking of Tim Pool, he doesn't care about the money. He cares about everything he's ever talked about, and that's what made his show so big. Major respect to Dan Bongino for standing by his values instead of chasing the money.
Like, I walk away from everything I tweeted, people need to understand the sacrifice he's making to do this. Because I don't know that I could, I worked so hard to build this company. If Trump said, we want you to do a civil servant job, we're going to pay you a, six-figure salary, I'd be like, I don't know, man. Like, I walk away from everything I built and all my plans and all my dreams. I mean, I don't think Dan Bongino had his 5-year plan being like, and then I'll stop building one of the biggest shows in the world in my network and go be a civil servant. But I think for Dan, it's very obvious what his priorities are. And his priorities, it lends itself to his show. When he goes on his show and he says, I am sick of the corruption, people clap for him. They say, yes. And then Trump says, want to deal with it? He goes, yes, I do. And so he doesn't care about the money. He cares about everything he's ever talked about that made his show so big. So shout out to Dan Bongino. Man, absolutely incredible stuff.
Amazing. Okay, let's keep going. Lots to get through here. Scott Jennings brutally reminds CNN Abby Phillip that Dan Bongino's appointment to FBI director is based on President Trump's authority, not Democrats.
Academic credentials, but I just, if I may address one issue. You just denigrated Bongino's law enforcement credentials. He was a cop and a Secret Service agent. You denigrated his academic credentials. He has a master's degree.
Just because he was a police officer doesn't make him qualified to run a 38,000 person, $11 billion budget agency, just like Pete Hegseth.
But you know what does? Because he
National Guardsman or whatever he was doesn't either. Thank you for your service.
The confidence and the pleasure of the president.
Whose judgment is terrible.
And I'm sorry that you are not yet over the outcome of the election.
No, because look at what's happening to our country. And I'll never be over it, Scott. This is dismantling our democracy in front of our eyes, and you guys are okay with it.
You had a city that was smaller than the amount of people that live on this block, and he was the Secretary of Transportation. You had the guy who was stealing luggage. I mean, I think anyone who's defending the Biden administration.
But this is the FBI.
So?
Correct.
Yeah, and this is someone who has a career in law enforcement for many years.
Freedom is at stake. Does Dan Bongino have the qualifications to be the second person in charge of the FBI?
Yes. He has law enforcement, he has academic, And again, let me just stress this. I've mentioned this before.
So when you stack up
they
his
serve at the pleasure of the president. That's the political appointment.
I know that is the answer to every question, is that Donald Trump wants it, so therefore it is good.
For political appointments, yes.
But when we look at, we're talking about people who are qualified and not, and you look at his resume and compare it to Republican and Democrat nominees for that same position, is he qualified?
Well, I mean, first of all, I'm not sure all the people that have been appointed in the past have covered themselves in glory. And some of them have done a terrible job and gotten in lots of trouble.
Look,
and this is a reform-minded administration. They got outsiders.
Oh, you got to love it, man. Scott Jennings. Here we have, this is Real America's Voice. Dan Bongino joins Cash at the FBI. Charlie Kirk weighing in. Let's listen.
And I trust Cash. No more can they just, take out Cash Patel, but you also have Dan Bongino. No. Now you have this dynamic duo to turn the FBI back into a law enforcement agency. And I trust Cash Patel with my life, and I trust Dan Bongino with my life. And you have 1-2 combo here. And people did not see this one coming. Here is Dan Bongino this morning making the announcement on his program or reacting to it. Play cut 65.
Obviously, we're going to be working with a team of people to make this transition from me, political commentator Dan, to Deputy Director of the FBI Dan. Those are different roles, require different skills. Skills I have and have used before and I plan to use again. The vision of President Trump, Attorney General Bondi, and Director Patel, I am going to do my job to implement that vision. And I can tell you right now, we are going to try our best. Every single thing I have in me, every single strand of DNA cell in my body is going to be dedicated towards keeping this homeland safe no matter what.
This is why all of you chased ballots. This is why all of you gave financially to President Trump and Turning Point Action. This is why all of you registered voters. All of our fortitude to grind through the dark night of the soul is paying off. It's not just that we have President Donald Trump, but we have Pete Hegseth, we have Marco Rubio, we have Scott Bessent, we have Bobby Kennedy, we have Tulsi Gabbard, not just Cash Patel, but now Dan Bongino. TikTok. For all of the deceitful, parasitic criminals that have been infecting our law enforcement agents, the Department of Justice, the FBI. We got Pam Bondi, we got Cash Patel, we got Dan Bongino. We got eyes scanning the horizon for any activity. Dan Bongino being number 2 at the FBI will ensure that President Trump does not have to go through a Russiagate 2.0. Will ensure that Peter Strzok Smirk and his little minions are not going to infiltrate the government to be weaponized against the people and against the administration that was popularly elected. This is a man devoted to America, and I can't speak high enough about his integrity, his character, his honesty. No.
You know, this Bongino appointment is a lot bigger than we realize. What do we have here? This is, this is something about Crenshaw snapping at a 10-year-old. Here is Jesse Kelly, D.C. FBI employees are planning to defy Cash Patel. Listen.
We are hearing that Cash is already relocating, if you will, hundreds of FBI employees outside of D.C. Is this, in your mind, a good start, something horrific? What do you think about this?
I think it's a great start, but get this, Jesse, right out of the gates after he put that forward, 500 headed to Alabama, 1,000 heading out to the field, because they want to clear out the D.C. apparatchik. That absolutely is what needs to be done. It's a great place to start. But right away, I heard from someone who is in a position to know the details, said that these people are already trying to subvert that order. They said, oh, don't worry about it. We're going to do what we call paper transfers, and we're going to make it look like, yes, we're assigned in Alabama now or wherever else. But in reality, we're going to stay right here and continue our subversive Marxist ways. And I forwarded that on to Cash, and I think he's preparing a game plan for it already. But there's going to be a viper around every turn. And so I think both Dan and Cash have a tremendous battle ahead of them. And I think it's going to take, if not the entire Trump administration this time around, much longer to to quote unquote fix the FBI, if it even can be fixed.
Well, we'll see about that, because there's one question that needs to be answered, and that is, whatever happened to Thomas Crooks? Yeah, I want answers there for sure. Patriots are standing strong. Dan Bongino made nearly $5 million last year. Now he's down to $221,000. Pete Hegseth went from $2.3 million to $256K. Why? Because they're not in it for the cash. They're in it for America. These guys are real patriots. FBI personnel busted destroying server evidence. This is from U.S. Homeland Security News. And the MSNBC folks are in meltdown over Bongino being chosen as deputy director. Let's listen.
The most important thing to know.
And then there's Dan Bongino, someone who has never spent a day working at the FBI, but will now be the deputy director. Ken, tell us about Bongino's background and what kind of reaction we're seeing to this pick.
Well, the most important thing to know about his background is that, as you said, he hasn't worked at the FBI. This is a job that for 117 years has been held by a career FBI agent, because this person is actually in charge of operations at a very complex law enforcement agency. Dan Bongino was a former Secret Service agent, but he's better known for being a right-wing podcaster, a very successful podcaster who has spouted conspiracy theories. Most recently, Anna, he claimed that the FBI was lying when they said they didn't know who placed the pipe bombs outside the RNC and the DNC the day before the January 6th attacks. The FBI came out with a big information push to try to get more info from the public. They said they were seeking information about suspects. Bongino did a podcast where he said, no, they really know who did it. This is all a cover-up. Well, now he's going to go and help run this agency, and he's going to have to either deliver on these conspiracy theories that he's told his millions of followers about, or tell them that, in fact, no, they weren't true after all. It's going to be a really interesting thing to watch, but look, I can just tell you.
Yeah, I can just tell you there's going to be some egg on your face, buddy. When, because it's always the conspiracy theorists that are ahead of the curve. We always get mocked. He's a conspiracy theorist. Don't listen to him, yada, 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 right? Well, folks, we're always proven right. Always proven right. Here is Joey Manarino. This is also from Timcast in real life 24 hours ago.
It's 2020, right? I got a text from my dad. He sent me the Truth Social post from Trump. And I said, you got to vet those better because that's impossible. Then I go on Twitter and everybody's talking about Dan Bongino is I'm like, what, are we really going to do this? We're really going to do this. So we have Kash Patel and Dan Bongino running the FBI. And you got to think of these things. When you think back to when Trump, quote unquote, lost 2020, right? You would never have had anything like this in 2020. No. You would never have had Kash Patel running the FBI. These are not things you can think of. RFK at HHS, Tulsi Gabbard DNI. We had to go through what we went through to get what we're getting now. And we're getting the dream team of all dream teams. These are patriots beyond any imagination. Bongino, if anyone's going to clean house, talk about life insurance for Kash Patel. Kash Patel just became assassination proof. But this guy right here, no, this is going to be the clean out of all clean outs. And Adam Schiff, I would not want to be him today.
Yeah, he just left the country.
Did he really?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, I would not want to be Adam Schiff either. Or Eric Swalwell. And we are anxiously awaiting what Nick Sortor is about to drop. 90 minutes of audio of a drunk Eric Swalwell. This is going to be solid gold. Eric Swalwell's days in Congress are about to come to a screeching halt. So Senator Chuck Schumer's ominous warning from 2017 is looking increasingly like a direct threat. If you take on the intel agencies, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting revenge. It wasn't idle speculation. It was a glimpse into how Washington really works. The intelligence community believes it's above elected officials, even the president himself. With Bongino in place, critical questions may finally be answered, including how compromised figures like Swalwell remain in sensitive positions despite Nick Sortor's explosive revelations about drunken admissions regarding Chinese spies and alleged abuse of power to pursue Ivanka Trump. What makes Bongino's appointment even more powerful is that he's not doing it for the money. Apparently made nearly $5 million last year in the private sector. His new government salary is just $221,000. These are patriots sacrificing financially because they believe in the mission. I know how that feels. So here's the question. Can the FBI be reformed? Or has the corruption run too deep for too long? Drop a comment below. And grab your exclusive Mag Avengers gear in the Next News shop. Link below. Grab a Next News hat over here. Mag Avengers hat. Mag Avengers shirt. Shop.nextnewsnetwork.com.